You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
All right, welcome to PoliticKen, episode 3. It's 420 edition. I'm so excited. As y'all can see, we starting late. Of course, this is the Stoner Circle because they're late to the circle. We were supposed to start at 3, but we got started a little late because of the rain. This is not the day I pictured. I know y'all didn't picture this kind of day, but we're about to have a good time today. I have some awesome people joining me, some friends, family, new friends, and I'm just excited to talk a little bit about, some stuff going on in the city, especially around the legalization of marijuana. But I'm just going to kick it off and say who's joining me today. I got my cousin Zawadi at the table.
Peace,
this is my spiritual sister right here. We've been through a lot as she's moved back, and we're getting so much more reacquainted as cousins in our adult life. I love it. Ephraim, what's going on?
What's your deal?
A lot of Coleman love sitting at the table
you know
today.
Go
green.
Go white. Root of the Bruds, root of the Reds, man. Root of both of us, man.
I got Steven Farrar. That's what we was calling you all at cast, man. I love it. Ain't it crazy that we're around the corner now from our...
Ain't it crazy?
Yeah. Look where we are now. And last but not least, we do have another guest joining us, but for now, last but not least, my homegirl, Rolla. What's going on, baby girl?
Hey.
I'm loving everything that she's doing, and I can't wait for her to share her philanthropy lifestyle and everything that's going on. It's one of my newcoming friends that's joining the PoliticKen circle. So I just want to kick off the conversation and talk a little bit about 420 and what 420 is, because I think some people, they just be like, oh, it's just for stoners. And I mean, like... essentially, it might be, and I think that that's okay, right? So 420 is considered an occasion for smoking or celebrating smoking marijuana. So you don't have to necessarily be a smoker to support marijuana or things like that. But I think that we're in a culture change or a culture shift now where more people are starting to understand that marijuana is just more than just people just sitting on the sofa and just being stoned all day. But it's actually medical breakthroughs that's happening because of cannabis and because of things that people are finding out in our community, in our culture, that people don't have to use these hard drugs, but they can actually heal themselves through, different aspects. And it's not always smoking. Cannabis is also ingested through food, and you can take a bath. People don't even know these type of things. Get your little Thrax bomb, a little bath bomb. And so I did think it was fun to just have a fact on how 420 even came about. And so they're claiming, and I looked this up on High Times last night. On the internet. They said the most credible story traces 420 to the Marin County of California. In 1971, 5 students at San Rafael High School would meet at 4:20 p.m. by the campus statue of chemist Louis Pasteur to partake. They chose that specific time because extracurricular activities had usually ended. This group became known as the Waldos because they met at the wall. They would say 420 to each other as a code for marijuana. Do y'all think that's interesting?
That's crazy.
Like, I had no idea about
high school. That's what got me. That is a high school.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something steeper, but I'm guessing, hey, if it's just about weed.
It's so simple, right?
Yeah.
So simple.
It's
but
simple.
It's all kind of stuff that I had seen for rumors around why 420 even started. But anywho, let's get into the conversation. And so, beyond marijuana and everything else, I think that there is a big culture shift going on in the city that people need to talk about. And I always try to, think about what does culture mean? What does the arts mean? And it's a lot of that going on in Detroit. And so I just want to know, like, from y'all perspective, especially being in the fields that y'all are in, how do y'all receive the culture shift in the city? We're hearing stuff like Detroit is the new black. What does that mean to y'all? And do y'all think that the culture shift that's taking place is positive or negative?
I can see it from both sides. So, like, I've traveled internationally pretty much all my life. And so, like, just talking to different people in different countries and just the way they like, oh, I'm from Detroit. Mm-hmm. And the way they like, you see their demeanor change. So in the past, it's been like negative, like, oh shit, like, we might not want to, oh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm cool. All right. We may not want to stand a little too close to her. She might shoot us or something like that. Then it's like, oh, well, Detroit, ain't y'all broke? Ain't y'all city? You know what I'm saying? Like, so now the conversation has changed a little bit. Just going to different places like, oh, I'm from Detroit. Like, oh, okay, Detroit is a city on the rise. How's it going down there? What's happening? People want to know about what's going on in the city.
Mm-hmm. What about y'all?
I mean, I think that it's a as far as what I can feel, and being black, I can't speak for what the new black is. I don't know. I think it's all kinds of us, but I could say just among my peer group and individuals that I bump into on every day, my new black maybe is black opportunity. After the recession, a lot of us came from Detroit, so we saw everything tear down, and now that we see it's opportunity to build something and ownership, like that's really like the wave that a lot of my friends and family are on. So I think, just opportunity, black opportunity is like, maybe that's what, is meant by the new black, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So being that I'm actually not from Detroit, I'm from Atlanta, and I moved here about almost 4 years ago now. I was like, okay, maybe I should not talk about this first.
You still got good perspective.
Right. So, okay, yeah, you're right. It has felt like a long time. But it's interesting to me. I like the resurgence. I like the bustle and all of the newness and the freshness just popping up in every place. I think in a lot of conversations with people that I know from Detroit in professional circles and non-professional circles, a lot of black people feel shut out of the development, shut out of the growth. And that's what I hear and see mostly when I talk to people about it. And they go into these places where these new things are popping up in the city, and these are the places that they've been thumping around for years and years and years.
Facts.
But now it's nobody that looks like them. And to me, it'd be like, well, why would you be in a space that makes you uncomfortable? But the message that I'm getting from black people in Detroit that are from Detroit is really inspiring, because they're like, no, this is still ours. Like, it's ours. Yeah. Like, just because y'all came here doesn't mean it's yours now. So I like that, because now it seems like people are going to hopefully try to work together, and maybe it'll inspire black people to be more, have more entrepreneurial endeavors, and just kind of like lift themselves in a sense. I like that people are being inspired and not feeling shut out completely. Like they're, just moving with it, so I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I actually used to be like that. Like, I was gentrification, black. But, I think I was sort of limiting myself from certain opportunities. But when I realized, we got the same 24 as the next man. I think it's a good time right now for it's a lot of young black professionals right now in Detroit.
Yep.
And so I think, as long as we stay on the same page, utilize, one another's resources, we get a lot of that opportunity that is here right now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's a good shift, because one of the things that I'm noticing is the culture that's coming within particularly the millennial group, and we had that conversation on the last episode, it's really subtle. This collectivity that's happening, people don't really see it, but it's happening, and it's happening in silos kind of, but
that's why it's powerful.
Exactly, it's so subtle. And I think that I want to acknowledge that in these type of spaces, because I think there are so many areas in culture that can have a major shift as a collective and come out of that silo. And I'm thinking about stuff like music, you know what I'm saying, in our art, in our storytelling. And I know you do a lot of stuff around, reading and literature, you know what I'm saying? So when we start thinking about that, and thinking about historically where we were as black people and when we thrived, those were the areas that we were dominating and using our power, you know what I'm saying, to kind of speak our narratives. You get what I'm saying? So I think that it could be so great if we start really honing in on the arts and our narratives within the city to kind of present a different world, for not only ourselves, but for the youth. I think the youth definitely need to see it, because we're rich in knowledge, and
you gotta think about
that.
It. Mm-hmm. The statement, Detroit is the new black, is so powerful, because you got to think about it black in the sense of that statement. That means that the new black, it's popping. Black is popping. Black is powerful. Black is what's happening.
Facts.
Detroit is the new black has so much power in that statement. And when we say black, we're not just talking about the color. We're not just talking about the swag. We're talking about the culture. We're talking about the people. We're talking about us.
Right. And one thing that I think we really benefit from in that is, when you think about Detroit, being a new black, I think that a lot of it comes, like you say, from our history and our culture. Detroit was one of those places where many people decided to come when they migrated from the South. That's why, a lot of us are 1-2 steps away from having somebody from, like myself, Arkansas or, Georgia or, Mississippi, wherever the case may be. So it's it's becoming a mixing bowl of, black people that came from generations of everywhere,
Yeah. And so I'm just trying to get, I'm glad we talking about this. How do y'all think, collectively, we can start to build up and build up the momentum around this whole idea of us shifting this culture and narrative? I mean, I feel like still, even with all of the comeback, I feel like the comeback doesn't reflect us. The comeback reflects downtown. It reflects, all of these businesses, really the tech industry. When you look at some of these other major booms coming, how do y'all think we can work collectively? I mean, not only as millennials, but just as people who care about the arts and the culture and just bettering our city in those aspects. What's y'all thoughts on that?
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thanks. I think people should be more unified in how they do it. So I think the unity, that you can't see in silos is cool, but I think in order to really create something that is sustainable, in order to really create something that's going to be impactful in the city, people really have to pull everything, not just their support for each other, but their resources, their time, their energy. I think we got to move from the 9-to-5 mentality and be on the same grind once we get out, and really put the energy in and then really concentrate in the same space. So when I teach classes in Livernois, and that area is still in development. That area doesn't seem to be claimed.
What part of Livernois? Are you on the entertainment district? Are you in university?
Probably university. 6
Livernois.
7 Mile.
Yeah.
Where the Bucharest.
Okay, that's entertainment district.
Okay, so there's a whole spread of it. So,
well, no, I'm sorry, the fashion.
So 780 Quinter was always Avenue of Fashion. Yeah.
Okay.
Fashion
and
district.
There's a lot
this
of
is the entertainment district. I apologize.
So something like that, pick a space, because I feel like a lot of times what really keeps the mass of support happening to a lot of things is that everything's so spread out. Mm-hmm. Everything is here and here and here and there. Bring it all together. Put it all in the same space so anyone who's interested in you can come and be interested in anything else if we're all vibing on the same stuff. So to me, I think that's the unity has to be amplified, and we really have to pull the resources and really invest and get on the same page. Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to happen naturally. And I say that because when I think Kenya, when we met, you got to think about it. That's exactly what ended up happening. So I feel like we find each other. We gonna link up one way or another. We gonna find each other. And when we do, we just make it happen and we just put the work in. I feel like our generation that's coming up now, that's taking over, we got that work ethic. We got that drive. We want to do it. We want to see it. We got that passion for it. So I feel like it's gonna happen. We just gotta be believing in ourselves and put faith in okay, trust the process. We just gotta see it through.
Yeah, and we don't really mind working together either. Yeah. I think generations before us, as far as black people, we saw success sort of as limited. If I see you eating, that means it's less for me out here to eat. Mm-hmm. And I think our generation sort of got away from that. We're trying to help, feed each other. Yeah. But I do think that shift is starting to happen right now. I just think ownership. I love that, all the rappers, of course, R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle. We got to say that on here.
Yes.
Marathon continues.
I love that all the rappers are sort of going into that shift into ownership, from content to just they business moves. Especially entertainment just in general, especially while we're talking about the arts and stuff like that. That's something that, historically black people have just dominated. You know what I mean? But we really haven't had enough ownership in that arena to really have say so. And so we starting to see it happen from Tidal, Revolt, even OWN Network. How crazy is that her name where she can call it the OWN Network?
It's her own network.
I'm saying that's hard. But I think it's going to happen naturally, like you saying.
Mm-hmm. So, real quick, we talking about where we are currently. And again, just to clarify, the Livernois and 7 Mile is the, Avenue of Fashion. We're currently in the entertainment district of Detroit. This area now has been kind of revitalized. It's on a come up. And even just sitting in this space, I have had my time to hang out in entertainment district and just be a part. How inclusive is this development for this culture shift that we're speaking about right now? And I want to know, what is the role that politics has to play to reflect that?
That's a tough one.
What that makes me think of is when I first heard the Pistons was moving downtown, I wasn't excited because I know that the money that happens downtown stays in downtown. And that's a large revenue coming into the city that isn't really helping the major issues that we have in the city. So it really wasn't that exciting. But then that kind of feels a passion of, okay, we got to do something about this. We got to fuel it. So just stuff like you using this space to create this platform here is major. That's a major component of that, is us using these different platforms to push what our agenda is and what we know we need to bring forward.
I also think the schools. Like, I think like that's the main
Somebody
place.
hit the bell, please.
I think for the most part, schools though. I think that that's the first place of contact that a lot of our families and a lot of our children can reach out to, and a lot of where we get our culture from, you know, how we talk to each other to, you know, your first love for whatever your craft may be. I think it comes in schools. And I think that, you know, raising our voice and our engagement within schools for students and, you know, just parents and families in general, because they all come through DPS. I think that's the first stop that we need to make as far as, you know, including ourselves overall in culture, because we're including ourselves overall in how we educate ourselves, you know, and our children. So school's got to be one for me.
How can we do that? Because I was very interested in being a teacher. Just kind of going off the side rail here, but I was really interested, kind of still am, in being a teacher, just because I too really believe that if any change is really going to sustain itself, you have to really engage the youth. The children have to be a part of it. They got to believe in it. They got to buy into it, and they got to do it. So, and it starts in the schools, and I have a whole thing about public school education to a certain degree, but the Detroit public school system in and of itself is overall failing miserably.
Sure.
Like, it's really bad. Like, I looked at, probably just picked a handful of schools and just looked at their reports, and it was saddening. Like, I almost cried looking at how underperforming, you know, the
state of Michigan is like 48th or 49th in the country in like third grade math and reading.
Because y'all gonna have me go there.
Hey, look,
it's like, how do you do
it.
that with what it is right now? How do you, like, what's the first step?
In my head is programming. Like, we can't be the teachers. We can't do nothing, but we can go in. We can be mentors. We can sit with the kid at lunch. We can read. We can show them it's cool. Like, I wear Tim's too, but look, I know how to read. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it start with us actually going into the community and doing those things, or us sitting at a table and putting the logistics together of how we're going to get those things done, and thinking of, okay, if I'm a kid, what's my barrier to being able to be successful? All right. So how do we address their barriers?
Exactly. And I think school lit. Like, I think, you know, where you go to school at says a lot about you, even though I love all the DPS CD through and through. I think that we all have a love for the schools that, you know, relate back to our childhoods. And shoot, I think that we could, you know, do a lot of fundraisers within our communities, just engaged in our schools, because a person that's coming from East Warren has a lot of, you know, love for Finney. I have a lot of love for King. Y'all have a lot of love for Cass and the DPS schools that y'all went to. So I think that a lot of it just takes, you know, making school more relatable to the, you know, overall individuals around. Because you look at let's say, for example, a Metro. I always talk to my lady like, man, I want to find that next young producer that, you know, that Metro booming that's, you know, in Osborne right now, that just be tapping on, you know, whatever little producer machine it is. Because the youth is really what's popping, like, more than anything else. Like, the older we get, we still cool, but the youth determine what the wave is. So it really takes them being engaged in what school is to actually care and see, like, okay, I'm learning this because it's going to get me to this point, and we all want the money, but they just don't see the money in it. So it takes, you know, growth and showing someone what it is to, you know, actually excel in what they want to do and how you can make your passion and money in it.
And while we're talking about the arts and like culture, a lot of that stuff has been removed from school. I remember going in and doing a career day, and me and one of my old bosses, you know, we was in there talking to the kids, and, you know, we like, what do you like to do? And a lot of them love to draw. There is not an art class in that school.
Trash.
There is not one art class in that school. It's no programming that offers it. But it was literally over half of that class that raised their hand and said they draw. A couple of them had drawing books on them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we tap into, because I'm one of those people, you know, where I believe that academia is one thing, but it's your passion and your arts and all of that other stuff that comes with your life that kind of helps you learn what it is that you're supposed to be doing in life that defines your purpose. And so like with that, it's like, the youth don't even, you know, can't even start tapping on them 10,000 hours that they say you need to master craft in life. And it's like when we thinking about the arts and things like that, those are the things that they enjoy. Those are the things that take them away from all of the nonsense and the crap that they deal with on a daily, and kind of like allow them to escape that, you know, and be creative. And I think it's so important. Like, we're losing our creativity, not only within ourselves, but like within our youth spaces. And I just think that that's something that they really need to kind of be able to be successful in life.
Facts. And it boxes us in like so much. I really want to take it there, but I'm not going to
Go
do that.
ahead, please do. Please do.
Go ahead, bro.
That's why you here.
That'll take up too much time. But no, for real. And then have y'all ever heard of Detroit Independent Freedom Schools?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like if y'all ever step foot in one of them, I grew up hooping at St. Gregory over there on Finkel and Dexter. That's now or at least in the summertime, a freedom school. And I mean, they're sort of centered. It is African centered, but as far as the curriculum, it's a culturally relevant curriculum. And I mean, when you go in and see these kids, and I mean, they got black teachers, white teachers, whatever, but they so just disciplined and on point, but they so engaged into their own education. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about from kindergarten on up. And I mean, I think that's something that we need to like organize around and sort of see if we can, build a model to bring into DPSCD. I work with this national organization called Journey for Justice, but one of the things they did was a hunger strike. I'm not saying we should do that, but out in Chicago. And it was really to save like Chicago's last performing arts school. It was like they DSA. But, not only did it work, they was able to get it's like 20 something sustainable schools that, they've been pledged to build. So it's called Sustainable Community Schools, but it's going to be focused around having like a culturally relevant curriculum for the black kids in Chicago. So if we could try to, use that model and do it here, that's something I could for sure see, having some success.
So a little shift. We got into some dark stuff, you know what I'm saying? But we're here. It's 420. And I mean, we're talking about all of this stuff that we need. It take money to do this stuff we're talking about. Let's just be 100. And we have to figure out what that look like. And so one of the things that I'm always arguing with the older folks about, because I'm all about the intergenerational connection. A lot of older folks are like, dope is bad. I'm like, but dope brings in money and revenue.
It's a lucrative business.
And so with that, it's like, I want to know, one, how the table feels about the legalization of marijuana recreationally in the state of Michigan. And then I want y'all to talk about some areas that y'all think can benefit. Because when we look across the nation, like certain places, like off of the revenue of marijuana alone, they're able to help with infrastructure in cities and states. They're able to help increase, the opportunities within education. I know education is a big loop, and that's something that is even being looked at here in Michigan on a regional level. Just thinking about what that can do for our schools, especially with our low performing schools. And then also accountability to government. Cause I mean, we've had a lot of things that have come into place that they say, all right, this is supposed to bring in money, like the lottery, right? And it's supposed to pay for these things, but it's like, who's holding these people accountable for that? So, let's kick this off real quick. How do y'all feel about the legalization of marijuana right now in the state of Michigan? And do y'all think that that's benefiting us, or is it just bringing more barriers to our communities?
I don't trust it.
It's a step in the right direction.
I don't trust it. And I'm sorry to take it right back to the dark place, but I don't trust it. I just don't believe it's not too many things that the government has done that in our communities that are actually good for us, actually. And on the front end, it looks good, but on the inside, all of the stipulations, all of the policy that goes behind it, is just, I just don't trust it. And especially when you're talking about using it for medicinal reasons, I just don't feel like anything that the government is going to standardize and mass produce now is going to be good for your body.
Yeah, we're thinking about the people that are still sitting in prisons and jail because of marijuana.
Right.
Well, see, that was what was supposed to be the part in the what we voted on, is that they were going to reopen these cases. And so that was the biggest part for me. And so when I went to me and my mom always go to vote. And so when we went to go vote, I made her vote for it just because of that. Cause like I got, caught into something leaving a dispensary last year, and they pretty much did a sting op. Like it was like prostitution. Wow. Wayne County took my car. I had to pay them $900. They didn't release my paperwork to the third day, so I had to pay $300 to the impound. I bought my car back for $1,200. You know what I'm saying? We bought that car for like $2,800. So, you know what I'm saying? So that was like a whole thing. So I'm like, if these laws was in place, I was telling my mom, I'm like, I wouldn't have never had to deal with that like type of stuff. So you got to think about it like it's white kids that, you know what I'm saying, be high off their ass by the time they 13, 12, 14 years old, living their life through, don't have no problems with this, but it's people that look like us that are getting attacked. So for me, it's more so like, just opening that door to, okay, leave that little black boy alone. Yeah, he got some weed, but guess what? It's legal. Like, you can't pick on somebody because of that.
It's technically decriminalized through our laws now with marijuana, technically.
And I don't agree with everything, but like I said, it's a step in the right direction towards different things happening. But it just depends on how you look at it.
And we have to understand, too, that when policies and laws come into place, we have to still continue to hold people accountable. I think I talked about this on episode 1 and in the end of last season. It's just like there's a political process that is, so a lot of us, we get educated, we go vote, but we don't hold them accountable after we go vote. And that part is so important. Yeah. And I just want people to keep thinking about that. And I keep reiterating that every talk, because it's like, all right, now we got this law, that's saying you're decriminalizing this, you're legalizing this recreationally. But what does that mean for communities in which people are being targeted and things like that? Y'all got something?
I think the biggest thing, sometimes we get enthused as a community. Oh, yeah, weed's legal now. And like we said, there's still people sitting in jail for like a pound of weed or whatever.
Sorry, y'all. Quest McCody is in the building.
Oh, yeah, I got my cart took over like 2 grams. $20 to $100 later. Continue.
But yeah, that, and then we should be able to thrive in our own communities with this. And that's the biggest thing. Every community has like a representation of something in their community. Right. And in our community, we don't have the stores. We don't have the places that feed us food. And if you look back and you go back to the days when weed was illegal, you had the spot, or you had whoever the weed man was.
Uncle Pete.
So now the person that has the most experience with supplying his own neighborhood with product and can thrive off of the product and bring money back into his neighborhood is essentially like marginalized or displaced.
I don't believe so, because it's a sales tax and my weed man don't got no sales tax. So I feel like that kind of, in a sense, does empower the independent, entrepreneur.
I see, but I see where he's going though, because
to your point,
unless you've got the $500,000 to put up for the liability insurance and everything else,
ownership,
you can't
capital.
take that first step to be legit and proper about it.
No.
So it's like, it could be, it's all type of grants that I just believe when it comes down to that, with the obstacles that's there, it's great that people aren't being punished in that regard. It's great that we're taking the focus off of something that shouldn't have been a focus in the first place, but we still gotta, like you said, be accountable for. There are a lot of people that are free with weed charges on their resume where they go and they fill out an application and they may not get a job based on 2 grams of weed. You know what I'm saying? So, and on the flip side, until they get federal and state going together, it's always going to be, because why is a dispensary getting raided? Prostitution, of course.
Right. Like, it was a whole sting guy. The officer that flicked me was not the one who seen me coming out, because she hit a Yui. You wasn't even there.
Anybody?
My biggest thing is the neighborhood. Like, I grew up on the east side. I used to go to Beckham Academy, and on the way you drive down Dickerson. Well, you walk down Dickerson. What I used to do, and it used to be the Franklin branch of the library. So now when you walk up now, it's like it used to be a liquor store there, and of course, just like the liquor store, used to be open all the time. Now it's a dispensary that's right across from the library. That's open more than the library, because the library be open Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
They're crazy. We ain't gonna talk about
that.
For
4 hours, but then at the same time, it's always bunking across the street at the dispensary. And my biggest issue is not about the availability of weed, because weed has always been available. It's more so about, bro, just like these individuals at these stores be allowing these kids to buy Rellos and, buy, them little shots, like who we know that it's going to happen more once one of these little homies, one of these little girls get cool, with one of the individuals that's running the dispensary, to where you 16, 17, blowed out your mind, don't even, know what you're doing. And you just got availability to a whole dispensary that you didn't got cool in.
Yeah, but it's easier for a kid to get a bottle of liquor than some weed from a dispensary right now.
Now.
Yeah, right now.
I mean,
Yeah, like
You go to the spot,
like
they ain't checking no IDs.
with the dispensaries, the rules are so crazy and they're so intense with them. Like, it's gonna be a scapegoat everywhere. It's gonna be something everywhere. But I mean, I know the way the dispensary is set up. A kid can't even get in.
At least at this point, I know
Right
at
now.
one point when it first hit Michigan or Detroit, it was easier. It was
They ain't
way
let my
easier
homegirl
to
sit in the
hit.
lobby without a card.
But eventually,
hands
with
going
all
in.
of these regulations that have come, and with now the state being involved, it has gotten more strict and very more. It's way harder. Like even if you close to expiration, they like, hey, you about to expire in a couple of days. Like you need to get it together. So it is getting more strict as far as like what it looks like on the flip side. But it just seems like we got a lot of work to do in this arena. There are some pros, there are cons to this, but we just have to be cognizant of what it means for our communities and how we're presented it when we're thinking about the youth. Because I be in schools and these kids do be high. But I mean, that stems from sometimes the home, and we can't put that on the culture of what's going on around us either. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many layers to a lot that we're dealing with. But I just wanted to kind of start peeling back some understandings of what could possibly be and how we could benefit in a lot of these arenas.
I think your two biggest issues, I think, are something that he said and something that you said. One, as long as federal and state aren't aligned, you're going to have issues. It's still a Schedule 1 controlled substance.
Yep.
So yeah, we had a guest on our show that was he's a former Secret Service agent. That's now like his whole essence. He's built an entire career on building security for dispensaries now because it's just a whole different world. And one of the things they have to deal with is what happens when the DEA shows up. What happened? Can't deposit the money in banks.
Yep.
Where are you going to put it?
Yep.
And the other thing is accountability. Because okay, great. Michigan as a whole passed it and said, yes, it should be legalized. Recreational use is fine. Every time, every other day, there's another city going, nah, we're opting out. Nah, we're opting out. Well, but the people that voted in your city said yes. And why is that city council saying no now?
Yeah.
Whether it's Royal Oak, Clinch, I mean, just all over the place. It's crazy.
Yeah, we just tried to get I have a friend that does a paint class, is weed friendly, and they were looking for a space in Ferndale, and when she went in for occupancy or whatever and said, yeah, well, it's a weed friendly paint class. We don't sell stuff or whatever. It's just friendly as a social club. They're like, no. We're not.
I like that phrase.
We're not
weed-friendly.
doing that here.
Yeah. It just depends on where you are. It's kind of like everybody picks their rules. We're boundaries. We have these lines that you can't cross here and there. And yeah, it's a lot of work we got to do, but I do appreciate the conversation. And now we at my favorite part of the dialogue, which I allow my panelists to tell people who they are, because like I say on every show, I don't mess with regular people. Everybody around me, I feel like is doing awesome things, great things within their communities and their circles and their networks. And so I just want to give y'all a quick moment to kind of tell people what you're doing. If you got any events or something like that coming up, or a program or something you need donated to, please let the audience know. We're going to kick it off with you, Cuzzo.
Okay, what's up? So I'm Zawadi. I'm into a lot of stuff, but my focus is definitely culture, African culture, traditional African culture in the African Black communities across the diaspora. So I teach traditional West African dance classes with Temate African Dance Company. We teach on 6 Mile, Illinois at SOS Detroit, SOS Fitness Detroit, every Wednesday. And then I also am certified as an ASA teacher, which is an Afrobeat dance fitness program.
The only one in Detroit. The only certified one in Detroit.
That sounds lit. I'm gonna have to.
It's dope. It's not a joke. It's like, the only thing people like to compare it to, because there's only one other dance fitness program, Zumba, but it's like Zumba on crack. Like, you drenched in sweat.
I'm gonna
by
just
the time
tell
the
y'all,
warm-up is over.
I went to my cousin's beginner class. I walked in, walked out. I said, this is not a beginner class. I don't know what you think this is. I need a 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's the next step. Just trying to figure out how to bring it to people who may be a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning and get people involved. So I was actually at one of my favorite restaurants, Cola Lounge, Restaurant and Lounge up in Farmington, and there was a woman teaching, like, she created like a hustle with Afrobeat.
And I thought that was super dope because it's like, y'all do hustles up here. It's like the hustle capital look like to me. Yeah. And then you just infuse that with the Afro beat, Afro style. I really like that because that seemed like a way to introduce tradition and African culture, you know, to people who probably wouldn't really be into it maybe, or would have maybe been a little intimidated. So that's what I do. And, yeah. Mm-hmm. Come see me.
Let them know who you is, what you do.
Okay. What's the word? My name is Ephraim Clark. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Elite Urban Innovations Group. It's a nonprofit that raises awareness about toxic stress in urban and impoverished communities for Black male youth. Currently we're stationed at Michigan State with a good 20 guys up there that do different programming to make individuals aware of, you know, toxic stress and the impacts it has on your overall lifestyle. We're currently doing work in King and Frederick Douglass, getting some guys graduated in the school, not just saying that school is the option, but just to see something different. It's a startup, but as we continue to grow, we'll have more. I know that we're starting our basketball camp this summer, which will be more like, you know, teaching young guys, you know, how to shoot this shot, you know, not just, you know, as far as basketball, but, you know, in real life, and just using basketball as a personification for how, you know, you should handle your life. And we're going to also make it into like a school drive / you know, hygiene ordeal, you know, where they get deodorant and, you know, fresh Hanes t-shirts or whatever the case may be, you know, just so they feel fresh. They might not have everything, but, you know, they feel fresh enough to go to school. So, yeah, be on the lookout. We have a lot of things coming out. Thank you, Miss Kenya. You know, that's one of our board members, you know, our director of women's supports and advocacy, you know, so, yeah, blessings.
Mm-hmm. Hey. What's up? I am Quest McCody. I am a rapper from Detroit, battle rapper. Battles, do movies. I do a whole lot of stuff. I'm a producer. I'm an engineer. I'm working on this great project right now. I can't really talk about it, but
okay.
I work with Silent Riot Recording Studios. I'm a sound engineer there. I run a company called BBG Media, which also has a nonprofit building bridges to greatness. We help out in community outreach, which is helping out mentoring people using hip hop to help impoverished people by just healing the common things that go on in their neighborhoods. We just opened a culture shop in my old hood, 7 Mile in Archdale near Strictly Sportswear, 1760 West 7 Mile, Stash House Culture Shop. Today is like a soft opening. We just painted and it looked like it's not abandoned anymore. So, and we put some furniture in there, so we told some people to pull up. So if you're out and about, again, 17630 West 7 Mile Road, there's a bunch of people right now. They're doing 420 stuff.
420 stuff.
Activity. Yeah, you know, like just activity, spades, you know, Uno, you know, backgammon,
regular day.
Scrabble. And I got an album. It's on iTunes. It's called The Gospel. It's a very, very, very good album. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Lessons.
Okay. I'm Stephen Farrar, founder, CEO of Lincoln Literature, which is a writing platform / community organization geared towards improving literacy rates in the inner cities. We got a writing platform. We have right now, I think we've reached over, I believe we just made it over 12,000 people in 110 countries. Been around since 2014. Also, while we're talking about education, one of the big things we're fighting right now with some other organizations is, I don't know if you know, back in 2016, the state Supreme Court ruled that children in Detroit, well, that's something else too, but that goes well with this, but that children in Detroit don't have the right to access literacy.
Oh yeah.
But then speaking on what you're talking about, next school year, it's this 3rd grade reading statute that's set to go into effect that basically says they're going to hold 3rd graders back that don't score well in reading. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, how can you say we're not obligated or accountable to give these kids access to literacy, but we'll hold them back based on their reading scores. Right now I'm working with, the lead attorney on the case, dude named Mark Rosenbaum, sort of organizing the community around it through this online campaign called #WeChooseLiteracy. So got some big stuff coming with that. So look out for that on your timelines.
Okay.
And we got this, it's going to be called the Billionaire Book Club. I don't know. You know Chanel Adams? Anybody know Chanel with Progressionista? She has this young girls mentoring book club here in Detroit, and I'm actually about to take on and do an arm of that called the Billionaire Book Club for young men. And we're gonna base it out of Cass Tech with Mike and Drew Sports, doing an entrepreneurship.
Shout out to my dogs,
Shout
Mike
out
and
to my
Drew.
dogs. And so yeah, that's what we got popping.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
I know we done with the discussion, but what you just said made me think like, so, and I don't know, we might not have time to get to the answer to the question, but do you all think we doing these kids more of an injustice by passing them along knowing that they can't read, or by holding them back because they can't read? Because we know that they build prisons based on test scores of third graders.
Oh, and I'm a whole person who is social justice advocate and is around like trying to find alternatives to mass incarceration in jails and prisons and things like that. But you're so right, because those beds that's been built in this new upcoming Wayne County jail, there are so many hundreds of beds that are being built for youth right now. And so we don't have the time to answer that question, but it's a question that we need to be thinking about for sure.
As a community.
Rolla, let people know what you out here doing.
I'm Rolla Emanuel. My real job, I work at the Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan. I'm the outreach coordinator for Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, and Livingston County. And pretty much what we do is we meet girls where they are and give them the opportunity to do Girl Scout programs. I personally, as a woman of color, focus on trying to, get more girls of color involved, because I got to think about it. The areas that I serve, I'm not in the urban community, but there's still black girls out there, and these girls ain't getting reached by the inner city programs. So I go out to community centers. I work with the probation departments. We do it as like a rehabilitation. I work at the women's prison. We do a program with the moms and the daughters, and I love it so much because these prisoners hold this program so dear to their hearts that they will not do anything to jeopardize their participation in this program. So that's something I wish that we could replicate on other levels and other scales. So, when y'all see me as a warden of a prison one day, just know I'm doing good things. In my free time, I'm an activist for people of color to, boss our lives up, to see each other, to empower each other. The biggest thing is that our representation. So just being able to see each other do what we do and be able to network and know that we have a network full of people. Like, I know I'll be able to reach out to anybody else in this room. Like, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to put together. Let's, come together and use our resources. Yeah. In 2020, look out, I'm going to be doing, guided tours in West Africa, the Gambia. That's where my family is from. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been on this earth. Like, I've been to Jamaica, and I'm telling y'all, the Gambia, y'all need to go. Y'all need to see it. So look out, 2020, we gonna be getting those, going. That way we can get people. Cause I know people want to go back home, but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't really speak the language. And so that's my lane and my avenue of what I want to do to connect those worlds. I dabble in youth development. I've been doing that since I've been 16. So I get involved with different nonprofits and organizations. I'm still waiting to get something going with kinship. I'm starting to see what we can get going. But yeah, that's me.
But I just want to thank everybody for joining me today on 420 edition. We talked about a lot around culture, activism, education, the youth, the community, and the culture. I mean, just thinking about Detroit being this new black and what that means to us. I want everybody that's watching to continue to tune in, give us some feedback, tell us how you feel. You can follow all of these on PoliticKen. PoliticKen is PoliticKen. Keep on following the conversation. I'm going to tag everybody once we get off the show, so y'all can continue to follow these great people and what they doing. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see y'all on episode 4. And that one's gonna be That's Law.
Episode 4.
We out.
I love it.